I'm just going to be ranting and rambling for most of this, so forgive if there's not a lot of consistency, which is kind of fitting for a Final Destination review. Now, if you're like my exes, you might prefer the quick version, so here it is. Is Final Destination Bloodlines worth a watch? Yeah, it was pretty good. I'd give it 7 Nick Cages out of 10. I think if you're a fan of the series, then it's a must-watch. You're probably already planning on going. I have no idea how this movie is going to resonate with people who aren't fans of the series. I imagine they won't like it. But for fans, I think this will be looked at fondly. Not the best, but pretty fondly. I think it'll be received well. This is a theater movie. This movie is exponentially better on a big screen, and it is way, way, way better when you're surrounded by other people experiencing it. Now here's the long version. The first Final Destination movie I ever saw was 3. I saw it in theaters, and I was lured there by promises of Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Go.
Now, I didn't have a YouTube channel back then, but if I did, my review of the film would have gone something like this. This movie was so it's probably made by like, why would death go to such elaborate measures? Doesn't make any sense. You just give everybody cancer. So unrealistic. No wonder my stepdad didn't love me. And then I never watched another Final Destination movie until many, many, many years later, I became a fan of the Saw franchise. And because I had this Hoffman lip-sized hole in my heart, I started seeking out other horror movie franchises to see if, you know, something could fill that void. And after finishing all 5 films, I became a fan. A decent fan. Because don't get me wrong, I have a lot of issues with the Final Destination movies. CGI being one of them. Some of the CGI in these movies is fucking atrocious. Bland characters, especially bland protagonists, and a lack of a recurring character. They have Tony Todd, he's great, but he's only ever in like 3 minutes of the movie. But beside all that, the movies were creative and they were fun. Even a piece of shit like 4, easily the worst film in the franchise, it gave us wonderful memories of a racist being drugged by a truck and lit on fire to the song Why Can't We Be Friends? You know, there's lots of bad movies, but bad movies don't always give us a gem like that. Most of them just bore you. And Final Destination 5, while not being the best movie, the ending is just And that's why I love these movies. Even if they're bad, they're fun. Which leads me to the movie I just got back from. Let's talk about Bloodlines. So starting with the opening sequence, way back in time, the thing that started the whole franchise, a young woman saving a whole bunch of people from death's design. Now the build-up to the disaster, a little long for my liking, but I think it's forgivable because the actual Sky Tower disaster is awesome. It is one of the better opening disasters that the franchise has ever done. Not in the sense of being realistic and not really in the sense of being terrifying. It's just really ridiculous and it's really funny. I love being in this theater because there was enough other people laughing that I didn't feel like a psychopath. Another prop I want to give to this film is if you saw Terrifier 3, minor spoilers, Art the Clown kills some kids in that movie, but it doesn't show it to you because that would be a step too far in a franchise that has done what it does. Whereas Final Destination Bloodlines is like, yeah, we got a kid. Let's drop a piano on him. So earlier I was saying how my gripes with the franchise were CGI and bland protagonists. How's this movie do? Well, it's got too much CGI that looks terrible. I mean, it looks better than it did, 10 years ago, but it doesn't have any weight. It has enough weight to crush someone, but no weight to make you think that it's actually, you're seeing something real on screen. And the protagonists are really bland.
I'm shocked.
This movie centers around 2 families, or it's one family, but it's like 2 branching paths of a family, and one side of the family is full of like actually interesting characters, and then the other side of the family, you couldn't tell me anything about their personality because their whole role is to be like good and smart and walk around this face. Yeah, the best character in the movie is Eric, and the best relationship explored in the movie is his relationship with his brother. There was a brief moment, and I knew it was too much to ask, but there was a brief moment where I felt like it was gonna Cabin in the Woods me, where you think you know who the final 2 people are gonna be, but then it pulls a switch to the characters you actually love. Didn't happen. So then when those interesting characters die and we're only left with the protagonist side of the family, it loses a lot of the interest for me. It's pretty predictable. And come to think of it, I didn't really love the first third of this movie. I gushed about the opening disaster. That's great. But the lead up to the disaster is a little long, and then after the disaster is painfully long before we get the ball rolling again. The middle of this movie is awesome. That's why it's a 7 out of 10. The beginning of the movie, not including the disaster, is a 5 out of 10. The ending of the movie, the last fourth of the movie, is maybe a 4 out of 10. But the middle is a 10 out of 10 for a Final Destination fan like me. And so that's where I get the 7. This movie is an Oreo. That's what it is. Cardboard, crappy chocolate, gooey. This movie is a double stuff. Gooey double stuff in the middle. Maybe I'm just hungry. If this movie is the end of the franchise, I hope it isn't. I hope we get more Final Destination movies. But if we didn't, this would actually be a really good ending to the series. And Tony Todd's send-off is legitimately beautiful. I don't know that you could ask for a better send-off.
Good luck.
I was tearing up at the end of his scene. It's eerie. It's eerie to watch this character and to hear his final words. And knowing that they filmed that at a time when he probably knew he was on his way out. It was haunting. In terms of emotional weight, it is easily the strongest part of the film. Now as for the quality of the deaths themselves, pretty good. Again, last third deaths, pretty weak. Opening disaster, amazing, but technically it's averted, so it didn't happen. And then some of the other ones are good. There's a bit too much going back to the well, I would say, in terms of deaths that we've seen in the other movies, or even within this own movie. There's a bit too many of, like, what would you call them? Last second projectile deaths. Bit too heavy on that. Another thing I like about this movie, and why I think it's better if you're a fan, there's a lot of love letters to the previous films. There's a joke about the name of a hospital. I think it's the name of a hospital. What was the name of that hospital? Is it Deep Rivers? Is it Wide Rivers? And I don't know. I was cracking up. There wasn't too many other people in the theater who got it, but I appreciated that. Or like the log truck references. I wish that storytellers, I wish they would stop making the bland characters the protagonist. Take the jock asshole, make him the protagonist. Take the stoner, make them the protagonist. Take the ditzy cheerleader, make them the protagonist. Switch it up. Stop letting the Fred and Daphnes survive. No more Fred and Daphnes. Give me Shaggy and Velma. Not modern day Velma. Old Velma. Movie Velma. All right, I've thought of a better way to phrase this. I don't know how I'm gonna edit this together. Probably poorly. That's how I'm gonna edit it together. But let's talk about subverting expectations. When I'm harping on sort of these kind of bland characters we choose to be our leads, surrounded by side characters, in this movie not surrounded, but like having a couple other side characters that are more intriguing, have more depth, are funnier, have better lines, having an emotional story that resonates with me more. Why do I want them to become the protagonist? Why do I want the other family to be the focus? Part of it's because I think they're more interesting, but I think another reason is that it would subvert my expectations. I did not see that coming! And the people responsible for Final Destination should understand why subverting expectations is so good. It is the bedrock of what makes their kills so entertaining. It's not the gore. I love the gore. Please drop more pianos on children. It's the build up to the gore. It's the tension. It's the not knowing what's gonna happen. It's the trying to piece it together. It's here's how this person's gonna die. We're setting it up. Oh, won't it be fun when this kills them? And then something else gets them, or they survive. Again, why the middle of this movie works so good is it does some things that subvert expectations, not just with the deaths, but with the characters. Subvert expectations. Just a suggestion, because they're gonna watch this video. Yeah, Eric was the best part of this movie. Not only was Eric the best part of the movie, Eric had the best death in the movie. Oh, his death was good. And the psych out? If Eric wasn't part of the family, then why was Death fucking with him and trying to kill him in the piercing shop? Or why am I trying to apply logic? I'm gonna tell you the secret to enjoying the Final Destination movies. It's really simple. If you're worried about logic, Death's design and how he works, what the rules are, this is gonna fix it for you. Well, how does Death work? Because sometimes he goes in reverse, and sometimes he allows people to skip, and sometimes they say if new life can defeat him, but sometimes they say only killing can defeat him. And he doesn't really seem to have a lot of logic, and like, why wouldn't he kill the parents if it's this giant bloodline tree? And why does this woman survive? She's in a cabin. There's a million ways to kill this woman. She's surrounded by spikes. Why doesn't Death just kill her? Why does he wait 50 years? Simplest answer. Death is bored.
Yeah, I know I should find this ironic, but really I'm just bored as hell.
He's bored. He's been killing things, people, whatever, forever. I hope that Death, if there is a personification of death in reality, that he is just like he is in this movie, because he's got a great sense of humor. He's got a great taste in music. And the poor guy is bored out of his mind, so he creates scenarios. He is most likely the entity responsible for sending the visions in the first place, just so it gives him something to do. That's why he kills people so elaborately. That's why the rules switch up, especially just as people are starting to figure them out. That's why Death waits 5 months to kill somebody, because he wants them to have a sudden realization seconds before they get hit by a giant falling sign. That's why Death doesn't kill this old woman, even though he easily could. It's not because she's smart. He lets her think she's smart. The reason he does it is so she can ruin her entire life and then he can take her out at the end. Death is petty and funny. I really like him. That's all I got. If you watched this movie, let me know what you thought. I am happy to argue movies with anybody in the comments. Pretty good. Pretty good. It was better than the Until Dawn movie.
I believe Colonel Mustard did it in the study with the candlestick.
Sorry, Death, you lose. It was Professor Plum.
I said Plum.